What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk exclusively on YouTube.com. What's going down, people? It's Mike Fletcher alongside Anthony Florio, Dee Woodson, Michael Bullock. Derek Ferrera will be with us in just a matter of moments. He's probably coming in a little late, but that's okay because what we're going to do, we're going to start it off with Smackdown Live. It was from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, exclusively on the USA Network. And ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say, this was a lot better than last week's SmackDown. And boy, what a way did we kick it off. Basically, it started out backstage. Basically, the footage from last night's Monday Night Raw where Randy Orton dropped the RKO on Brock Lesnar. And, of course, as always, they were talking about how, we need extra security just in case if Brock Lesnar shows up. All right, fine. Orton's like, you know what? It doesn't matter because it only takes one RKO to ruin Brock Lesnar's night. You saw it last night, fellas. I'll be fine. And then The Miz gets into the face of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon saying, you know what? I'm the guy. I'm the leader. I'm Intercontinental Champion. I'm a big movie star. I deserve some love. What are you gonna do? So Daniel Bryan's like, all right, you know what? And this is what we're gonna do. We're going to give you a match. Well, you're going to witness a match tonight. Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, and Kalisto. The winner of the fight becomes the #1 contender for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam. Miz was happy with that, walks off with Maurice. The next thing we see, Dean Ambrose shows up and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk to the people right now about my new #1 contender, Dolph Ziggler. So what do? After the pretty cool little segment or pretty cool start with the graphics and everything else with the opening theme for SmackDown Live, Dean Ambrose shows up in the ring, starts to cut a promo with Dolph Ziggler, and man alive, you want to talk about passion. You want to talk about fire. You want to talk about how a promo is done? Monday Night Raw, take bleeping notes. That's fire. That was passion. That's what you want to see each and every week. Yes, they talk about it's more about the wrestlers and less about the management. Guess what? Dolph Ziggler shined in this one. Dean Ambrose shined on this one. This was amazing. One of the strongest segments of the night. Second best segment of the night because there was one even better than this. There was one better than this, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get into that in a matter of moments. But if you want to talk about a way to start SmackDown Live, this was a jump off and then some. Rip-roaring, hard-hitting, and I love the fact that Ziggler's got that big chip on his shoulder, saying that nobody respects him, nobody cares about him, nobody thinks he's that great or that better or that amazing. And the next thing you know, after it was all said and done, and this was even, even after, you want to talk about a red hot segment and everything else. It was. And then to really make things even go over the top, we had basically we've had Bray Wyatt show up and his Dolph Ziggler with the Sister Abigail and openly challenge him for the #1 contendership for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That means if Bray Wyatt wins tonight, Ziggler's out. He's in. He fights Dean Ambrose for the title at SummerSlam. It doesn't get any better. It did not get any better. With that said, Anthony Florio, I give it to you, brother. Were you as thrilled or as thrilled as I was or as intrigued as I was about the opening segment?
Brother, unbelievable. Hey, man, exactly. That's all I got to say about that. Hello, friends. Ridiculously Over Anthony Flair here with you for another this newest installment of the Cerebral Smack Talk. We're glad to have you with us. And yes, I channeled my inner Slick from Royal Rumble '89. Fletcher just gave me the ammo for that. But man, that segment, if I could describe that segment in a couple of words, haymaker, pancaker, and that's all there is to say about that. Wow. Oh my goodness. Yep, I definitely agree with that, Michael Fletcher. I mean, we said it last night when we did Ridiculously Raw. We said what a difference a week makes. Raw was the hot show, and then last week we were back to reality. Well, and then look what happens with SmackDown. I mean, last week was a okay, average, somewhat show, but this show, wow. And this was one of the highlights right here. Very hot open to the show. Second best segment of the night. I 100% agree with that. I really enjoyed the interaction between Ziggler and Ambrose, and I think Ambrose took a bit of a heelish tone here that I enjoyed. He called Ziggler out for talking a bigger game than he walks, and I think it's a shot in the arm for this feud. Perhaps it will lead to a Ziggler heel turn, which he needs desperately. Bray Wyatt's appearance was well done, and he is being received as a babyface thus far. He could become a phenomenon with the right booking. Keywords, right booking. Looking at you, WrestleMania 30, John Cena. We all remember that. So I don't know what else there is to say, but you mentioned about the backstage moment, earlier. You were talking about Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan, talking with The Miz. And I love Daniel Bryan with all my heart, as does Michael Bullock, but we picked up on something very noticeable. Daniel Bryan actually committed a dipsy-do botcheroo during when he was making that.
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Here's how it happened. He made the triple threat match. He said Baron Corbin versus Apollo Creed. Yeah, he didn't say Apollo Crews. He said Apollo Creed. Don't think Bullock and I didn't notice that. We did a SmackDown chat tonight too. Bullock, you and I noticed that. We picked right up on it. Apollo Creed, not Apollo Crews. Apollo Creed and Kalisto. So Daniel Bryan, but despite that, Daniel Bryan, we still love you, man. You know that. But other than that, then I just basically said my piece. Second best segment of the night. And as far as that other segment that was better, wait till you hear what I have to say about it. And when I say it, I want all of you to put me on the record for it. So with that said, Derek Ferreira, Hardcore Pipe Bomb, it's all yours.
Yeah. Let me just say it like this. This show tonight was way better than what we had last week. And even though last week I was generous on that, but I could have been harsh on this SmackDown as well. So, yeah. Second best segment of the night. And yeah, absolutely right. When I was watching this, I was like, wait a minute. Don't tell me they're already planting the seeds for a Dean Ambrose heel turn. Because there are a lot of rumors within the dirt sheets that they want to turn Dolph Ziggler heel. And Dolph Ziggler, man, he came out and said, you know what, I've been in this business for 7 years. Technically, you've been in the WWE for, what, almost 11 years already. You did come out, you were a Spirit Squad member. I do remember I hated the Spirit Squad, and I had said a lot of things that I will not say on this show tonight, but he came out and said, I want to just bust my balls. I just want to, earn my dues, because for the past 7 years, everything has been so political on me. And we know Dolph Ziggler's been political, and he basically has gotten into trouble with WWE management. We all know that. And it was just really interesting that you saw a segment like that. And when Bray Wyatt came in, I'm like, all right, we get a number one contenders match here tonight. I'm hoping my theory comes out at the end that it becomes Ambrose and Bray Wyatt main event in SummerSlam, or just have those three go at it in a triple threat match. And we'll get more into that match in just a little bit, but it was my second best segment of the night. So I believe Michael Bullock, is this his turn or Dee Woodson? Whoever takes it, takes it.
Yeah, it's my turn.
Yeah, it actually goes to Michael Bullock.
All right. Of course, hello, friends. This is the Phenom Mike Bullock here for the Tuesday edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. Yeah, this SmackDown was definitely way better than last week's. So, yeah, I do agree. This was the second best segment of the night. I mean, I love the interaction with Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose. I mean, and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I love the passion that came out of him, saying that he's been held down for so long, and basically, like you said, I mean, because he's been getting in trouble for being somewhat political, and of course, I didn't like it when he was with with that stupid group known as the Spirit Squad. Really couldn't stand that, but yeah, and how he said he was gonna fight hard for it, and how he's gonna bust his ass, and because he's that damn good, because he had all the haters come out and say, "Oh, that you're not good enough to be world champion," and that he was gonna prove all the haters wrong. So yeah, and Dean Ambrose then said, "You know what? It's not because of all that, because you're gonna get beaten because you just weren't good enough." And then Dolph Ziggler just has that look in the ring, and then all of a sudden Bray Wyatt comes out, hits Sister Abigail, and says, "What makes you think you're the #1 contender for the title? So what do you think? You and me later tonight, and the winner becomes the #1 contender, and that person's going to be me, Bray Wyatt. So does he become the #1 contender? You're going to have to wait and find out later on this edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk." So, second best segment of the night. Dee Woodson, I give it to you.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because the guys pretty much covered everything. Second best segment of the night, and if it wasn't for the other one later on in the night, I would have given this the best segment, because I mean it was really, really awesome segment. Even the backstage segment was really good. So I mean, it's a strong way to start off SmackDown. Of course, I missed last week, so I still haven't even watched last week. So this was actually my first SmackDown Live to watch due to the family issues from last week. So I don't have it to compare to, but man, great beginning segment, great everything. So I toss it back to Fletch.
I'll say this, Dee Woodson, you didn't miss much last week on SmackDown Live. The first episode was kind of more of introductions more than anything else. They really got into some really good stuff on this episode. We'll say that. All right, guys. First of the night, triple threat match for the #1 contendership for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. It was Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, and Kalisto. The winner of the bout was Apollo Crews. But wait, after the fight was over, Baron Corbin tried to attack Kalisto, jumped him. Apollo Crews comes back to defend the little guy. He tries to go after Baron Corbin. Miz, who is out at ringside, basically hits Apollo Crews with the skull-crushing finale, thinking, "Oh, great! Now the Miz is going to get the upper hand." Oh no, you forgot somebody. Baron Corbin grabs the Miz. Kaboom! End of days. Done. Anthony Florio, you lead off.
We go from the second best segment of the night to the second best fight of the night right here. 2.5 to 3 stars. This was a very good triple threat match, and I had Apollo Crews winning this match from the moment it started. I mean, because he's got the most upside, and let's just say it like this. I love Crews getting the win here. Miz versus either of the other two did not seem like a good fit. The match was entertaining, but my only gripe is it didn't get enough time to build a lot of tension. But there was some good, believable near falls during this match that I liked, and that which of course gives the fight a little bit of some I don't know, Shakespearean drama, like Derek Ferrera likes to say. So Miz now goes up against Apollo Crews, Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. Could we see an Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship title switch at SummerSlam? I think there's a chance. I really do. Because Miz has held it since the night after WrestleMania. That's over 4 months. And that's going to be about 4.5 months by the time we get to SummerSlam. So I think it's been long enough. And if they're serious about pushing Apollo Crews, I think this would be a great way to do it. I mean, to have Apollo Crews possibly be the next Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, I'm all for it. I mean, we haven't had that many few on the African American side that has held the IC belt. I mean, the first to do it, I believe, was Ahmed Johnson, as I recall, when he beat Goldust at the '96 King of the Ring. And then, of course, we all remember Big E when he won the IC belt from Curtis Axel on that Monday Night Raw, the go-home show for the 2013 Survivor Series. So, could Apollo Crews be? And I'm pretty sure that those are the only two. Oh, and Kofi Kingston. That's right. Kofi was an IC champ as well. So a multi-time IC champ, as a matter of fact. So yeah. I mean, but besides, I love Cruz's look. I think he has what it takes to be a future champion, and I would love to see him win that IC belt at SummerSlam. I really would. And remember, SummerSlam has been known for Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship switches plenty of time. 4th, okay, yes. That's what I thought. So the only other 3 that did it, of course, like I said, Ahmed Johnson, Kofi Kingston, and Big E Langston. If Cruz was to do it, he'd be only the 4th African-American Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, and I'm rooting for it. Because, I mean, like I said, I love his look, I like the style, and there's just something about him that I think screams future champion as far as I'm concerned. And him and Miz should put on I think it'll be a solid match, if I'm going to be real honest with you. So, remember, Intercontinental Championship switches at SummerSlam, commonplace. Remember, the first 5 SummerSlams, I believe, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship switched hands. And then we had that long stretch where it didn't really happen, and then it started happening again and everything else. So remember, WrestleMania is known for WWE or World Heavyweight Championship switches. That became commonplace for WrestleMania. Commonplace at SummerSlam, before I throw it up to Derek, is simply this. The Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship has changed hands several, and I do mean several, times. So, food for thought. But as I always like to say, read into it what you will. Or as Derek likes to say, take it with a grain of salt. But for right now, my early projection is, I think Apollo Crews is going to do it. I really do. It's not just my gut talking, but it's also my heart talking, because I want to see him do it. He'd be a great champion as far as I'm concerned. Miz, I respect you, but you've held it long enough, bro. Simple as that. Second best fight of the night, 2.5 to 3 stars. Derek Ferrera, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I just did some research right now. Apollo Crews would be the 5th African-American champion because you forgot one name, The Rock, because he held the IC title as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Actually, stand corrected, the 7th IC champion, because we also forgot D'Lo Brown, and we also forgot The Godfather as well.
Oh, that's right.
So actually, he would be the 7th African-American to be the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion if he wins.
I hope so.
Yeah. So coming to this match, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I mean, this was the second best fight of the night. I thought all 3 individuals in this match had pretty good chemistry, and it was a fun match. And I mean, I wanted to see this a little bit longer. I mean, the commercials kind of do interfere with it, but you know, you can't really complain about it. So Crews winning was a necessary and acceptable win, and Now, the thing with Cruz is, and I'm really hoping he wins the IC title, you got to build his character. And I think that's what this new brand extension is going to do, because when he first got called up to the main roster, I was like, this kid's going to get lost in the shuffle. Now that you have the brand extension, I think it's going to help him some bit. And, let's see what happens. But to me, with Baron Corbin getting involved at the end with the beatdown segment, some way, somehow, my mind's just telling me that we could see a triple threat match at SummerSlam. Or, go with the single match and then have Miz get his rematch clause. Miz loses, and I think Baron Corbin would be the guy that becomes a real threat to Apollo Crews. So 3 stars. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5 to 3 stars is my rating on the match. I thought this was a good triple threat match to kick off the matches portion of SmackDown Live, and yeah, I'm glad Apollo Crews got the win here, and I do agree. I think he's more fit to face the Miz for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. I think having him face Kalisto or Baron Corbin wouldn't even make any sense. But yeah, Baron Corbin made a statement when he took out both Apollo Crews and the Intercontinental Champion, Intercontinental Champion. Yeah, so who knows? Maybe they could be planning for a triple threat match, or they just stick with the normal one-on-one match. So we'll wait and see. But either way, 3 stars is my rating. D.D. Woodson, I give it to you.
I totally agree with the rating. About 2.5, 3 stars. It's definitely second best match of the night. Awesome way to start off the show. I think that all the after the match stuff was just as exciting as the in match. And yeah, Crews is he really is probably the best candidate to go after the Miz on this. And me personally, yeah, I'm hoping that Miz does lose this title, because even when he was making the movie, he had the title for longer than the 30 days and then didn't defend it. So I think it's time that we get somebody else in there that we know will defend the title and take it more seriously than the Miz is. So that being said, I pass it over to Fletch.
All right, guys. We had this big debate about, I'm actually on Wikipedia right now, and I'm actually going line by line of all the Intercontinental champions that were African Americans, because this is how historic this belt is. In the history of the Intercontinental title, we've had over, I want to say, 157 times the title has changed hands. And on top of that, 78 people has held this championship belt. The first African American champion was Ahmed Johnson, like Anthony alluded to. He was the first man to do it. June 23rd, 1996, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at the King of the Ring, as he knocked off Goldust. The next champion, now this is debatable. Some people say it was Rocky Maivia or The Rock. If you want to say yes or no, because Samoan heritage, whatever, but they're chronicling him as. So that's your second champion. Then The Godfather won the belt on April 12, 1999, on Monday Night Raw in Detroit, Michigan. He was the third champion. D'Lo Brown won the belt on Monday Night Raw, July 27, 1999, in Columbus, Ohio. Then you got to go all the way to almost Rikishi in 2000. So that's 5. Then you gotta go. You go a long way. The championship doesn't. You don't get another African American champion for another 3 years, where Booker T wins the belt for the first time ever. Then Shelton Benjamin 1 year later at Taboo Tuesday in Milwaukee. Then you get, let's see, who else? There's an Umaga reign. Then there is, let's see, Ezekiel Jackson in 2011, Capital Punishment. Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston held it 4 times. And Big E. And as a matter of fact, I believe Big E is the last African American champion. He was the last man to hold the belt.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
he won that title November 18, 2013 to lose the belt May 4th, 2014, thanks to Bad News Barrett at Extreme Rules. Since 2014, since that day, we have not had another African American holding the Intercontinental Championship. It's been over 2 years since an IC title reign has happened. So, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Apollo Crews. This is an ultimate opportunity, but think about this as well. Baron Corbin could also put himself right in that mix as well, because I don't think The Miz is going to lay down and take that vicious end of days for no reason. 3 stars for the fight, second fight of the night. I mean, this was an unbelievable match. So, next up, we had, well, all right. We had was Becky Lynch was going to make her she made her entrance. Next up, we had the beautiful Eva Marie. Now, of course, Boo Birds ring out on Eva Marie, so the fight looks like we're about to start. Eva Marie versus Becky Lynch. Now, wait a minute. The bell rings, and all of a sudden, Eva Marie, I don't know what happened. It looked like a hamstring, looked like something went wrong. She was limp, noticeable limp, the whole 9 yards. Referee was checking on Eva, saying, "Oh, are you all right? Are you sure? Are you good?" And they're like, wait, time out. Doctor, we need a doctor in here. So they bring the medical guy out. He starts checking on Eva Marie, and the next thing we know, referee's like, trainer's like, "No, man, she's a no-go. She might have pulled a hamstring. Something's not right. It looks like something's wrong with her leg or her knee. I cannot authorize her to fight. So ring the bell. Just say, due to Eva Marie can't compete, we got ourselves a no contest." Wow. Well, that saves us from reviewing this fight, which I know would have pleased Michael Bullock, Derek Ferreira, Dee Woodson, Anthony Foyle, because we all know how bad Eva Marie is in the ring. But it also gives us, it was really a payoff in one way, because that gives Eva Marie more nuclear heat about her, because WWE is aware of how bad she is. But there was also a backstage moment that was between Natalya and Carmella. They were Renee Young was interviewing Carmella on the Smackdown Live, or the Smack Talk set is their post show now. Talking Smack, to say, that's their new post show now. I was gonna get copyright infringement, but because we're Cerebral Smack Talk, they're not copycatting my name for the show. So it looks like we got a Carmella versus Natalya fight later in the night, second Diva fight of the night. But until then, or I should say women's fight of the night, sorry guys. But let's go right into it. Next up, we had, all right, the Vaudevillains in the ring. They're getting ready to go in tag team action. Who are they going to face? The only team that's ready, willing, and Gable, the hottest tag team from NXT, one of the biggest one of the biggest call-ups from the WWE draft that went down a couple of weeks ago. It was the American Alphas. They get into action. They get the big victory. Derek Ferreira, it is all yours.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give this 2 stars because, I mean, you know how big I am on American Alpha, and me being the NXT guy of the group and watching this team on NXT every week, and, I mean, we all wanted to see American Alpha, but there's one gripe, and I think it was that crowd tonight. To me, they weren't crazy for American Alpha, and I'm like, what? You're not getting a big crowd reception, and this is why I always go with my theory that the NXT crowds are better than the WWE Universe crowds, because the NXT crowds, they're IWC fans, but, you know, since it is Full Sail University, I guarantee there's a bunch of these college kids that go over there and watch NXT. I mean, they might pay for a college discount and whatnot, but, I mean, the WWE Universe crowd was like, all right, let's see what this team can do. And I think that kind of really hurt somewhat of the match. But you know what? They don't really care about the Vaudevillains. And that's another reason why this match kind of got hurt as well. I mean, it was an okay match, average, but I mean, I was kind of surprised that they put Vaudevillains out there. I was thinking, all right, maybe some Hammernaga Jabroni tag teams out of Nashville. That's what I was kind of thinking tonight. That's what they were going to do and kind of make American Alpha look great. But I think it was way too early to put them in a competitive match. I mean, maybe going up against some local talent would have been better for them. But there's one thing I like about American Alpha. Those high-risk aerial maneuvers. And I may be about hardcore wrestling. I may be about violence and, you know, barbed wire baseballs, flaming tables, chairs, and whatnot. But there's another wrestling style that I like. And that's high-flying, aerial assaults, guys like Zack Sabre Jr., guys like Will Ospreay, guys like Prince Puma, Ricochet, you know, Ricochet in the Indies, but Prince Puma in Lucha Underground. Those are the guys that I like. So it may have been short, but I got to give it 2 stars because there were some good moves that American Alpha actually displayed. So, Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock? All right. Dee Dee Woodson, it's all yours, my dear.
Yeah, I'll give it about 2 stars. I'm with Derek. I'm kind of surprised that they put them in, seeing as, you know, they've put all the other people who've come up from NXT in with jobbers. They put them in with a real team. So, you know, I'm really kind of surprised about that as well. So, don't have much to say about it, so I'll just toss it up.
Anthony Florio.
Yes. 1.5 to 2 stars for the match. American Alpha looked good in the debut. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they threw him against the Vaudevillains, but nonetheless, a fun debut for American Alpha and one that shows they aren't going to change the act from what made it a success in NXT. The Vaudevillains are not particularly interesting as a team at this point, so I wasn't really expecting an instant classic here. But Alpha was made to look good and explosive, and that's what they needed, so that's really all there is to say about it. And yeah, I mean, Bullock even mentioned it when we did our Smackdown chat. He even said it. I mean, you know, the pop. I mean, where was the pop? I mean, we 2 weeks ago when Daniel Bryan announced them as the draft pick, they were going crazy for them. And what happens here 2 weeks later? I mean, it's almost like the Darren Young treatment. I mean, you could hear a friggin' pin drop, for goodness sakes. So, yeah, I mean, that's something. I mean, let's face it, Nashville, Tennessee is not an IWC hotspot. Worcester, Massachusetts, you could say somewhat is an IWC hotspot. So that's really all there is to say about it. It's not an IWC. It's not an IWC town. I don't know where SmackDown is live next week, but I know it's going to be on the West Coast. So that's all there is to say about that, because I know Raw's in Anaheim. So we'll look into that. So for right now, 1.5 to 2 stars, and good work, American Alpha, and hopefully the tag team division on SmackDown, will start to take precedence. So that said, let's move on, Flex.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the segment of the night. The AJ Styles address to John Cena. After a rip-roaring segment, we got a match. One more time, John Cena versus AJ Styles, one-on-one at SummerSlam. I could go into the schematics. I don't want to. I just want to hear you guys give your thoughts about it. Unfortunately, it looks like we have lost Michael Bullock temporarily, if he's going to come back or not. So, Dee Woodson, I'm going to give it to you. What did you think about this segment, John Cena and AJ Styles?
Oh, man. Definitely the segment of the night. Definitely, great banter back and forth. They definitely tore it into each other quite a bit. Both showing the veteranship they both have. John proving that in his little speech, I've been in one company for my whole career, where AJ has been in, numerous companies. And, saying, that, he does this for the love of the sport, for the love of the fans, for, all that kind of stuff, where, AJ is more in it for the fame, the titles, stuff like that. And, what kind of even made it surprising is, AJ is a father of 4, and here he is, he's tearing into all these kids out there in the arena and everything, and you're like, would you do this to your own kids, tearing into them because of them liking, somebody else, or liking a certain superstar? So, it was some of the things that was said was surprising as, a parent's point of view, but in the end, though, it was just an awesome segment. Me, I like both competitors, so it's not anything that I'm going to sit here and say, I want one to win over the other, but it was still a very good segment. Like I said, I love the back and forth, and I love just the fact that they stood out there, and they just pretty much owned the ring in the whole thing. So, and even the fans chanting in there, the soccer mom and the let's go Cena sucks stuff, and that's about the only two I could kind of make out from what the fans were chanting. They got into it just about as much as anybody else, and especially after that the match where they were, like you all said, very quiet and didn't say much. Here, this one, you get into the segment and they're just all over the place in it. So, awesome segment, definitely segment of the night, and makes you really, really look forward to this meeting as it's coming up here on SummerSlam. So I'm going to toss it up.
It doesn't get any better than that. You felt the emotion, you felt the fire, you felt the passion, and that was one thing that was always lacking in professional wrestling: the realism, the realness, the raw intensity. And what we saw tonight from John Cena was classic Cena. Classic John Cena where he puts his heart on the sleeve and tells it like he can only talk about it. His theory, his way of doing it, is he says it. Hustle, loyalty, and respect his entire life, and he'll do whatever he needs to do. If it's movies, if it's reality shows, if it's the Today Show, if it's whatever, but he always comes back to the WWE because he loves the business. The business is in his blood. And then he asked AJ Styles, what are you in it for? What the heck are you doing in WWE? And I love the fact that they were going that back and forth battle. It was awe-inspiring, and to me, this was the segment of the night, no doubt about it. And it's gonna go down as one of the talking segments of the year. I mean, this is going to be in our top 10 of segments of the year when we do our year-end awards this December, because it's going to be there, folks. I can guarantee you it's going to be there. This was absolutely flawless, and it makes you so jacked up and so excited for that match at SummerSlam. I mean, they brought it home from beginning to end. Everything about it, the crowd in Nashville, they must have woke up, they must have given them a coffee or something, because they were energized, they were jacked up. The Cena lovers and the Cena haters were in full force, the AJ fans were there, and it was a perfect conversion of the two fan bases. It worked as perfect as it could be. 5 stars and beyond. There was so much Shakespearean drama in this, and you know me, I never say the word Shakespearean drama unless it really happened, and it did. This was perfect. Well done, Cena. Well done, AJ. Florio, go.
So that happened. Oh man. All right. Now, you heard what I said a little bit earlier. I said I was going to make a statement, and I wanted each and every one of you on this panel and anybody who's watching this right now, I want you all to put me on the record for this. When I'm about to say, like I said, put me on. I want to be on the record for this. Then I want to be on the record for it now. I want to be on the record for it forever. Here you go. Fletch talks about, well, he said, segment of the night, absolutely segment of the night. One of the best segments of the year, no question about it. But I'm going to go one further. This was, to me, and here comes the statement that I want to be put on the record for, the greatest in-ring segment in Smackdown history. Yes, I said it. That was the greatest in-ring segment I have ever seen in the almost 17-year history of SmackDown. 5 stars and beyond. I mean, unbelievable. Michael Bullock and I had so much fun during this segment. We were blown away. I mean, we couldn't believe it. I told him what I just told all of you. Fletch, Derek, and Dee Dee, you're hearing this for the first. You just heard it for the first time. You know, SmackDown's been on 17 years. I mean, it'll be 17 years in 3 weeks. But man, oh man, alive. I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, this was absolutely phenomenal. Just like AJ Styles. I mean, the back and forth, the realness of it, the personal aspects of it. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, AJ ripping on the kids, ripping on the parents, and you don't get dessert before dinner, you don't stay up late before school, and you don't get a trophy for participating. Trophies are for winners, and AJ Styles is a winner, and then Cena. Whoa, Cena, my goodness gracious. I mean, how in the world do you follow that? I mean, wow. Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know, in-ring segments, you know, I mean, we care, I mean, honestly, you know, all of us, we care more about the wrestling. Usually when, you know, we usually are like, in-ring segments, yeah, yada, yada, whatever. this was knocked out of the park and then some. The crowd in Nashville, they came to life during this segment. I mean, that was just wow. I mean, I said that build. I mean, the build for Money in the Bank was freaking awesome. I mean, I already told you that. It was the greatest build to a match I ever saw. And now that we have the match for SummerSlam, which is, of course, to the surprise of no one here, let me just say this. You thought the build for Money in the Bank, the Money in the Bank bout was good? Just imagine what this build is going to be like for this upcoming SummerSlam bout. We're only going to get it on SmackDown. I understand that. I mean, that's fine, whatever. But I think the build's going to be even better than Money in the Bank. And tonight, the first firing shot, OMG. What else is there to say? I was, wow. Blown away completely. So, man, oh man. Segment of the night, one of the segments of the year. And of course, and like I just said, greatest in-ring segment in the almost 17-year history of SmackDown. Derek Ferreira, Hardcore Pipe. How do you follow that?
I gotta say this was the segment of the year. Sportskeeda.com, and they do their results and review of SmackDown. They actually reviewed the segment as a 4.5 stars. I gotta disagree with that. I mean, and I don't rank segments. I never do. But this was definitely a 5-star segment, and well, since this is a TV 14, let me just say that was one effing great segment. You had the emotion. You had the passion. I mean, John Cena and AJ Styles were fired up, and this actually makes that SummerSlam rematch important. And we all love serious Cena. I mean, we don't like the Cena that, jokes and, has to act PG, but this is a guy that got fired up, and I really think this segment was for all the dirt sheet writers out there. Because there's a lot of talk about, Cena this, Cena's going to leave. He's not advertised for a backlash. Does that mean that John Cena is leaving the WWE as a full-time performer? He just came out and said, you know what, I love the WWE. I love this business. I've been in this business for 14 years. I've been here. I put my heart, I put my soul, I've paid my dues in the WWE. How long have you been in the WWE, AJ? Oh, yeah, you've been in the WWE for, 6.5 months going in. I've been here longer than you. And, AJ was great here. I like the line that Florio mentioned and how he was just bashing the little kids. So it's kind of like AJ was this delusional guy out there, and it's what he wanted. He wanted a rematch. And he already told Cena, you know what? I don't need Gallows. I don't need Anderson. I'm going to beat you. And you know what? I'm going to do it myself. So this was just great. It was, wow, just so freaking awesome that we saw this. And, you had your AJ supporters. You had your Cena supporters out there as well. So let's see, with 3 weeks coming about with SummerSlam, the build's just going to get crazy. And let me toss it back to Fletch.
And then we dive right into the next fight of the night, which was Fandango going one-on-one with the Viper, Randy Orton. Now, in the match, everything was going fine. Extra security down at ringside just in case for an imminent attack by Brock Lesnar. Well, what happens was during the fight, Lesnar showed up, but he was basically at the gate, basically at the security wall. Security's like there saying, hey, no, you're not getting in, you're not getting in. Orton was ready, willing, and able, like, you want to jump, I'll do an RKO. Next thing you know, Fandango tries to jump Orton, gets an RKO for his own. Lesnar jumps in the ring, grabs Orton, F5, boom! Lays out Orton. Shane McMahon V-lines towards the ring, and he was pissed. He was telling Brock, "Get the hell out of here! Get the hell out of the arena! I don't want you here! Get out of here! All right, you've done your damage. Get out!" Then, right in the backstage, not only was he there, but Paul Heyman was also there as well, as Shane and security was still trying to get Lesnar and Heyman out of the building, out of the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. But the damage was done. Randy Orton got laid out by an F5. Basically, we knew it was going to happen. We knew payback was imminent because Randy Orton threw the first salvo last night on Monday Night Raw and struck him with RKO out of nowhere. Well, tonight, Lesnar got his. He got Randy Orton. He F5'd him right in the center of the ring. And yeah, Orton kind of was a little, breathing a little more heavier. Definitely looked like his ribs got caved in a little bit. But whatever the case may be, they just planted another seed for the SummerSlam fight. The fight itself was it was kind of a squash. It was Randy Orton looking very strong, and then the fun really began when Lesnar showed up. When he showed up, you knew, you're like, uh-oh. Well, all right, how's this going to play? They got enough security. Is he going to bull rush him? How's he going to get through the security? No, he waited for Orton to get the RKO. The security kind of got momentarily distracted. Over the wall, right in the ring, kaboom, nails him. Because here's one thing that you guys did not know, and actually a fan actually recorded this last night. He was at Monday Night Raw. He was down at ringside. Randy Orton came under the ring. Everybody's like, oh, did Orton come through the crowd? No, he actually was under the ring, came underneath the ring, swooped inside, and that's how he nailed Brock Lesnar with the RKO. So no fans knew that Orton was coming anywhere. He was just under the ring, camped out. Who knows how long he was camped out there for, but underneath, slides out, kaboom, and then rolls out through the crowd. This time around, we knew Lesnar was coming out because he came through the crowd and lowered the boom on him. So the fight is an NA, but again, it leads more awesomeness for SummerSlam. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
Yes, it's an NA for the fight, absolutely. It was going to be an Orton squash anyway. Yeah, and we had the feeling Brock Lesnar was going to show up, and he certainly did. He showed up, and he F5'd Randy Orton. Mauro Ranallo went nuts on commentary, which I loved. And, yeah, what else is there to say except more fuel to the fire? And I think we're definitely going to be seeing some more brand split breaks during this build to SummerSlam. We'll have to wait and see are we going to see more of this on Monday night when we get to Raw? Will Lesnar be there in Anaheim? I don't know, because I know Lesnar's on that limited schedule. I know Randy Orton. I know we'll probably see him on all the Smackdowns leading into SummerSlam. So, yeah. What else is there to say? I mean, you thought the build to Cena and AJ was good. I mean, I'm just going to say it right here and now. The build to the matches that have been set so far for SummerSlam, every match so far, the build has been great so far. Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, look at that build from last night. That first build, that first interaction with those two as they get ready to battle for the inaugural Universal Championship. That was great stuff. What we saw with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, or maybe that could be changed. We'll wait and see as far as that main event goes. That so far, that segment earlier, that was phenomenal. Cena and AJ, that's self-explanatory. I already told you how great that was. this build is really good so far as well. And then also just scratching the surface with Sasha Banks and Charlotte. I mean, look what we saw last night. Look at that strong opening segment with that also involved Enzo Amore and Chris Jericho, and that strong mixed tag match, which was one of the few highlights of last night's average and mediocre Monday Night Raw. So, point is, folks, the build has been phenomenal for every match. And if the build for these matches keeps getting, and the better that each match build gets, this could end up being one of the greatest SummerSlams of all time. This could give 2002 a run for its money when it comes to the title of greatest SummerSlam of all time. To me, I still consider 2002 the greatest of them all. I rated that between 9.5 to 9 3/4 out of 10. Maybe even you could even give that a perfect 10 because every match on that show was phenomenal. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. So that's all I can say about it. So NA for the fight. I'm not at all surprised with the build, and the build so far, wow. And if they keep the build up for not just this match but for all the other matches, SummerSlam 2016 could make SummerSlam 2002 look like an absolute dud. Derek Ferrera, wouldn't you agree with that?
I mean, being in Brooklyn in a couple of weeks, and if that happens, I mean, man. Well, with Monday Night Raw, you had a C show. The show that I'm going to be talking about in just a bit that happened this past weekend, we knew just really kicked the living daylights out of that Monday Night Raw. I mean, it made Monday Night Raw look like an absolute dud. But if this show becomes a perfect 10, I can honestly say that I actually saw the greatest SummerSlam of all time. And that will be something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Now, the match with Randy Orton, of course, you know, they want to have him knock off the ring rust, but you knew that Brock Lesnar was going to get some payback. And we knew that he was in Nashville. We knew that he was there tonight. It was all over the dirt sheets. They broke the spoiler hours before Smackdown. Once you read that, you're like, yeah, something's going to happen tonight. And I kind of wish that they had done, you know, something different than, you know, just, you know, what we saw last night on Monday Night Raw. But, you know, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, you know, killing guys really to get into a brawl and just basically getting into the scrap would have been the better way, and could have been, you know, really a next big logical step. Now, I know Bullock, you know, he's not listening, but for all the fans, and I'm just going to reiterate what I said last night on Ridiculously Raw, there's some people out there that are going to complain. They're going to go on, you know, the forums, on Reddit, and say, yes, why are these guys going on Raw? And why are these guys going on SmackDown? They already just killed the brand extension. No, they didn't. This is what they've done before. They did this in the original brand extension. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to hurt the brand extension. You have to build this match. They made this match before the brand extension even happened, before the WWE draft happened. And this isn't in a promotional bout. And you have to build it up. It's simple. So probably after this, you're probably not going to see any more in a promotional matches. I mean, they could still go that route, but for now, I think they're just really going to end that. So, Didi Woodson, your thoughts on this segment?
Okay, if you did not know that Brock was going to come out, then you must live in the Ice Ages, because there was no way nobody could have not known that Brock was going to come out after what Orton did. You know, I agree the match was, you know, not worth even talking about, but the basically, you know, to me it was a little bit more of a segment just because of, you know, Brock coming out through the crowd, standing there staring at Orton, you know, giving that, you know, come on, I'm going to take you on sign here, and, you know, just letting him have it. because Orton got over last night. Of course, Brock has to get over tonight. That's just it. That's the thing. If you let one get over in one show and you let the other get over in the other show, it's going to happen. And like I said last night, just the conversation between the two siblings was going to be, something you want to be the little bug in there to hear. And I was not surprised that Shane got upset about it, because Stephanie got upset on Raw. It's you already saw at the beginning Shane talking to all the security, talking to Orton, saying, "I'm going to deal with you later, but right now we have to deal with the threat that's coming." So the threat came. The threat did his part. The threat left, and of course the Weasel was out there in the parking lot waiting on him, and it pretty much spoke for itself. That this was definitely a great build. Whether it's the last interpromotional or not, we don't know, because we don't. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything on the tag, if they're doing separate tag team titles or not. You guys might. I'm sure you research this more than I do, but right now we have only one set of tag titles, so who knows? We may have inter shows segment or matches on those. So there's just no telling, because there's definitely talent on both shows for that. But this is definitely one of those matches where you're definitely looking forward to, because of the build that they're giving you. But man, if you didn't see any of this coming, then you guys would, you're just not there. You're just not a fan. You're not somebody who knows the ins and outs of the business. I mean, I know I'm the oldest panel member on this team, so I've probably I've been watching since I was 13. I've seen just about everything that can happen on one of these shows, and this is definitely was not a surprise, but it was definitely the great one of the greater build-ups that you could get, next to what we had with AJ and Cena, and even earlier in the night with Dolph and Ambrose. So awesome. After, I guess you can say, after match segment. So Fletch, it's yours.
All right, and we're going to go right into what was going to be the next fight of the night, which was going to be Natalya going one-on-one with Carmella, but that fight never got off the ground. Carmella got jumped by Natalya right at the rampway, and the next thing we know, the sharpshooter applied, and that was it. She threw her into the barricades, the sharpshooter, tap out city, but the fight never got off the ground. So we had to move on to the next part of the night, and I actually made a mistake here, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. After everything that happened with Orton and Lesnar, Heath Slater showed up, said, I want to get a chance. Daniel Bryan's like, look, I got enough on my hands, because I got security I got to worry about, because Brock Lesnar showed up, and I just got nothing to deal with you, but I'll do this. You want to fight? That's fine. You can fight next week. If you win your fight, you'll get your Smackdown content. Who is he going to fight next week? Rhino. And let's just say Rhino got the upper hand after he basically gored Heath Slater literally right out of his boots. So that's next week. We'll worry about that then. Let's get into the main event of the night. It's Dolph Ziggler one-on-one with Bray Wyatt. Dolph Ziggler wins the bout. He gets to keep his number one contender spot, meaning he gets to fight Dean Ambrose for the WWE title at SummerSlam. But one thing actually happened after the fight. All hell broke loose, because now two members of the Wyatt family have reunited. It was Eric Rowan and Eric Rowan and Bray Wyatt worked together and they destroyed both men. Both Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler both got laid out at the end. Wow. Unbelievable way to close the show. And I believe it is Anthony Florio. Yes, Anthony Florio. You lead off, my friend. So let's talk about it. The main event for tonight's SmackDown Live.
Fight of the night. What else is there to talk about? I mean, this was the fight of the night. I mean, 3.5 stars. I mean, a very good main event. I mean, I knew this. I mean, the Shakespearean drama was there. Great near falls. The commentary was phenomenal. Ziggler gets a victory, but I get the feeling that this is just the beginning of a longer story for Ziggler. His attitude shift was apparent watching the show, and at this point, they are setting him up for any kind of setback to drive him off the edge. I hope that happens, honestly. We're going to have to wait and see. So, but man, oh man, I mean, this one review I read said he hopes that there is a setback because spending several years playing Kmart HBK has not done any favors for him as a character. Wow, Kmart HBK. Wow, nice play on words there, dude. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, and then you have Wyatt and Rowan going, doing the number on Ziggler, and then Ambrose showing up. Why do I get the feeling that next week on SmackDown we're gonna see a tag match with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler against Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan? I think we just found your SmackDown Live main event next week. That's just how I feel. But man, oh man, I mean, as I was saying, the bill for all the matches for every match on the SummerSlam card so far, of course, Miz and Cruz just have to get going because that just got made tonight with Cruz winning that triple threat. The other matches previously signed have all been very good, all been very well built. And this Ambrose and Ziggler, I mean, great first build here. And it's going to lead to, I think, will be a very phenomenal world title match at SummerSlam. And my early projection is Ambrose goes over, and it could lead to a heel turn for Dolph Ziggler, which I think he needs because, I mean, I've enjoyed him as a babyface, but I think he's much better off as a heel. That's just how I feel. So. But man, oh man, fight of the night here, no question about it. This was a 3.5 star match, so let the build continue. And I think next week, Ambrose and Ziggler will reluctantly team up to take on Wyatt and Eric Rowan. I think we just found your SmackDown Live main event for next week. So that's all I can say about it. So Derek Ferrera, your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, 3.5 stars. I do agree with the rating. I mean, this was a really fun and good main event, and the second half, going into after the commercial break, I thought the second half was actually better, and it told a story that, Dolph Ziggler, he's serious, and he wants to win that WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and that's what you really hope for after what you saw with his performance in that main event last week. So, to me, he comes off as a huge contender, and this is something that is really going to help him in the next couple of weeks as he prepares to go up against Ambrose. And next week, with the Wyatt family back, oh boy, you got your SmackDown main event for next week. And Didi Woodson, it's yours.
Yeah, this was definitely fight of the night. You could tell just from even the little backstage segment before the match, everything that Ambrose had said at the start of the show was just eating into Dolph, starting off as, being in the Spirit Squad, the male cheerleader thing, and then going through the years with Vicky Guerrero and all that kind of stuff, and everything that was brought up was just coming back at him as you didn't come out here and do all the things I did, as Ambrose would put it, and to the point to where here's Shane and Daniel saying we're behind you, you're putting everything on the line here, you don't have a fail-safe for this, and Dolph saying, you guys don't have any faith in me, you don't trust me on this. And so, he was bound to determine, I'm going to prove myself not only to management, not only to Ambrose, not only to the universe, but to himself. And he went out there and he did it. He took on Bray. He did everything he had to do to come out on top for this match. And with Rollins coming out, this of course is the first time as far as I know, that we've seen him since the draft. Since, like I said, I didn't see the show last week, but seeing them team back up, that didn't entirely surprise me, because they were both drafted over there, and you kind of would figure that Bray would try to rebuild his little stable, at least as a tag team over there. But yeah, this could be also, a possibility for the main event for next week, and there's just another great build-up for another great match, and from everything we're seeing, I don't want to react the guys too much, but from everything you're seeing, this they're building this SummerSlam up to be definitely must see, and definitely building these matches up to where they're going to have to live up to the hype. And that's the question that we're all wondering now, is all this build-up, when we get to the show, actually going to live up to the hype of what they've done? So we'll just have to wait and see when the pay-per-view comes up, and if it's anything like, if the matches are anything like this one, I can guarantee you it's going to be definitely, a very powerful pay-per-view, and one that no one's going to forget, seeing as, this could be the last inter-show pay-per-view to where you have the two shows interacting with, Orton and Brock, but at the same time, you've got a lot of matches for for SmackDown and for Raw individually that they're just, the build up on it is just it's just something that it gets you excited, it gets you wanting to watch it. And like I said, I've watched wrestling since I was 13, and I've seen I've seen some great matches. I've seen some matches that you want to walk out of the room shaking your head on and saying, why did they do it? This is definitely not one of those that you're going to shake your head and say, why did they do it? This was definitely one of those that you're going to want to go back into the network and watch it over again. So enough said. Fletch, it's yours.
I think there's really nothing more to say. You kind of hit the nail on the head here. Everybody had a point. Everybody had a reason. Everybody had, all this stories building up, and the whole 9 yards. And it was been an amazing show, an amazing night, no doubt about it. Far better than what we saw a week ago. So, Guy, I think it's time that we get into the overall reviews. And yeah, Derek Ferreira, he's checking his mic. You're up, my friend. Your thoughts on tonight's SmackDown Live?
Well, let me just say like this. This was way better than what we saw last week. This was, to me, an 8 out of 10, but if you want to put that segment in there with that 5-star segment, you got to go 9 out of 10 as well. So it's really between 8 to 9 out of 10. They definitely beat Monday Night Raw. Let's just say it like that. And yeah, 2 very good segments. Obviously, the segment of the night was AJ and Cena. You had that strong main event with Ziggler and Bray Wyatt. and that really sets the table for what SmackDown has as their top 2 match for SummerSlam, and they really built up Dolph Ziggler really well tonight. Now tonight you didn't get any women's matches. Obviously, the whole Eva Marie thing. There are some dirt sheets out there saying that it was a legitimate injury. I don't really buy that. And then you were supposed to have Natalya and Carmella go at it, but of course Natalya had to retaliate in a backstage segment. And, it's understandable because, there is news out there, and the news that I broke, did I break the news? The news that we found out earlier today was that they are going to make a women's championship for SmackDown and also a tag team championship. So that really answers Dee Woodson's question over there. Now, when it comes to American Alpha, to me, they should have had something better. Maybe have a match against some Hammerneger tag team. Of course, you have to question Bray Wyatt because we all thought last week, they were going to go into a new direction with him, and then all of a sudden, you got the Wyatt family back, and that really sets up the main event for next week for SmackDown Live. So this show was actually more focused. Of course, my MVPs definitely were Ziggler, Ambrose, AJ, and John Cena. And let's see what the ratings come for this show when they come out tomorrow, because I just checked the ratings for Raw. They were actually down this week. So let's see if SmackDown got the upper hand in the ratings, and if that is the case, then you have to say going into next week, SmackDown was the better show. So to me, I could say 8 out of 10, but I can also say 9 out of 10 because with that segment was just so freaking awesome. So Dee Woodson, your rating.
I'll go right in between there and give you an 8.5 out of 10. Really awesome show. Derek hit a lot of really good points there. And a lot of build up here and a lot of it was a lot of seriousness. It was a lot of things that needed to be addressed in serious ways. And you had all your comedy back on Raw last night. Here you have the more serious take, the more focused take. And leading into this roster split, when we first found out Shane was taking on SmackDown, a lot of people, from what I've heard, was thinking, okay, SmackDown's just going to be this joke show because Shane's one of these guys that, just likes to joke around and run around and all this kind of stuff. No. Tonight he proved he could be a serious boss. He can be someone who can stay focused and keep right on top of everything that's going on, where last night it seemed like Stephanie was a little bit more on, on image and, just trying to back her favorites, where, Shane, he's not really picking favorites, he's kind of backing everybody. So, you've got 2 different styles here, and you've got 2 totally different managers. The one that's, well, they've both grown up in the company, but you have the one that left for a few years, and you have the one that's been committed to it, and so you've got 2 different points of view going, and you're going to have nights where one's going to be better than the other. But definitely for this week, I would have to say that SmackDown definitely, no matter what the ratings say, they definitely hit it out of the park, because this was definitely a show that, like I said, you're going to want to go back, if you DVR'd it, and go back and watch certain matches, certain segments, get yourself familiar with all this, because as soon as SummerSlam comes, you better be prepared to know the history of it, because they're going to be telling these stories that some of them could lead into, after the pay-per-view. Some of them are going to end that night, and you need to know what's going on so that you can understand this is what it's all about. So, I'm kind of glad we did skip the Divas matches tonight, because I probably would have given you some hellfire and brimstone rants on it. I'm one, I didn't see how Eva Marie could have hurt her ankle or hamstring or whatever it was entering that ring. If she was injured, she would have to have injured it before she got in the ring. So, in my opinion, I think it was totally fake, because we all know she can't really compete in a match without her opponent basically carrying her. So, for me, I think that was kind of a BS finish, and Becky definitely deserved better than having her opponent, even if whether it was real or not, going out there with an injury. She deserved a lot better than that. And for all the showboating that they gave Eva at the beginning for her entrance and everything, you would have expected a lot better than what we got for that particular segment. Natalia is starting this new I'm going to stab everybody in the back before the match type thing, just like her Uncle Brett did, and that it's not a surprise that she's doing it. She learned from the best when it comes to that. That he said he was the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Well, his niece is trying to live that up, and so far, we haven't seen the best of Natalia yet, and I have a feeling, with her becoming heel here, we're going to see it, and we're going to see a lot of Uncle Brett coming out in these next few months, next few matches, no matter what happens. So, really, it was a really solid show. Yeah, we had some dud matches. Yeah, we had some stuff that you could roll your eyes at and walk out of the room for, but this was still a solid show. A lot of good building up going on here, and making you really look forward to not only the next Smackdown, but that pay-per-view that's coming up as well. So, Florio, it's yours.
Just got a Facebook message from Michael Bullock.
Right here.
Yeah, Bullock is right here. So, Fletch, I don't know if we should just catch him up, or if I should do my overall review first. It's up to you. Since you
Do your overall.
I was just gonna say, do your overall review.
Okay.
Yeah, do your overall review, and then I'll jump, then I'll get Bullock in very briefly on the matches that he missed. Basically, it's not much Bullock because there's not much to talk about. But Florio, go ahead.
8 to 8.5 out of 10 is my overall score for this show tonight. I mean, Week 1, Monday Night Raw won the battle. This time around, SmackDown wins the battle this week. I mean, Raw was far and away better last week. This week, it was all about SmackDown. I mean, they took advantage of a very weak Monday Night Raw, a very weak and soft Monday Night Raw. This one tonight, I mean, they hit us with some haymakers, pancakers, and they dropped us. So that's all there is to say about it. Yeah, a much better SmackDown than last week. I mean, so much good that came out of it. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, the segment with AJ Styles and John Cena. I mean, 5 stars and everything else. And wow, I mean, like I said, greatest in-ring segment in the 17-year history of SmackDown. And I don't know what else there is to say on that. And then you had Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. The segment was great, and then the fight of the night with Ziggler and Bray Wyatt. And then you had the second best fight, which was that triple threat match with Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin, and Kalisto. And then rounding out the top three, the American Alphas and the Vaudevillains. And yeah, we did. I mean, the women didn't get a chance to shine tonight. Like Derek said, there are several dirt sheets that are reporting that Eva Marie is actually hurt. I know some don't buy it, but it is what it is on that. We're just gonna have to wait and see until more dirt sheets come out on if Eva Marie really is legitimately injured or not. And then Carmella and Natalya didn't get going, unfortunately. So yeah, not a good night for the women, but the men shined here tonight. Ambrose, Ziggler, Styles, Cena. I mean, those were the four guys that really made this show what it was. I mean, throwing some Bray Wyatt as well. Wyatt was great tonight, and then the Alphas with a solid debut, and then Lesnar showing up and attacking Orton. Genius right there. So yeah, what a difference a week makes. A week ago, Monday Night Raw whooped SmackDown's ass. This week, SmackDown whooped Raw's ass. And I may be a Raw guy, but I got to give the nod to SmackDown here. Well done. We'll see what happens next week. Who gets that advantage? So after 2 weeks, the score is even, 1-1. 8 to 8.5 out of 10. And now Fletch, Mr. Bullock's got some catching up to do.
Alrighty.
You got a lot of catching up to do, Bullock. We're gonna get you in there. Let me just get right back into this. I remember you did the opening segment, and
the match, the triple threat.
And you also did the triple threat fight. All right. So next up, we had after that, we had a no contest fight. It was supposed to be Eva Marie versus Becky Lynch. The fight never got off the ground because Eva got hurt. So you actually get saved. You don't have to review that fight. So we will throw into the next thing, and that was the American Alphas making their debut against the Vaudevillains. Go.
All right. As far as this the tag team match goes, I'll say about somewhere between 1 to 1.5. I mean, I thought American Alpha looked really good in their debut. I mean, I love the body of work of Jordan and Gable. So yeah, I mean, the match was too short, but I thought in the amount of time they got, I thought it was pretty impressive. So yeah, so 1 to 1.5 is my rating. So yeah, so
all right,
what's next?
we're just gonna go rapid fire here. AJ Styles, John Cena, the in-ring promo. Go.
What else is there to say except segment of the night? I mean, the back and forth between both of them was just spot on. I mean, I enjoyed it. And now we got Cena versus Styles once again at SummerSlam. So we'll wait and see how that goes. So I really got nothing more to say except let's move on to the next match.
Fandango one-on-one with Randy Orton. The fight gets thrown out. Orton wins by DQ because Brock Lesnar showed up and F5'd Orton. Go.
I'm gonna say NA on this match. I mean, because it ended in a disqualification, but basically we pretty much expected Brock Lesnar to come back. I mean, come to SmackDown and get some payback for what Randy Orton did to him last night on Monday Night Raw. So it really hypes up this big match between Lesnar and Orton at SummerSlam. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So let's just move on.
All right, Mike Bullock. Next thing we had was it was supposed to be Carmella one-on-one with Natalya. The fight gets thrown out because they never made it to the ring. Carmella got jumped by Natalya before the match even began. So fight's over. We got nothing to cover on that one. Main event of the night: Bray Wyatt one-on-one with Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler wins. He keeps his number 1 contender spot. Your thoughts?
I'm going to say this was the fight of the night, and I'm going to give this 3.5 stars as my rating. I mean, this turned out to be a really good fight. I mean, I love the intensity from Dolph Ziggler throughout the match. I mean, he found a way to get the win, and but after the match, I mean, both him and Dean Ambrose get beaten up by not just Bray Wyatt, but Eric Rowan as well. So very interesting. So 3.5 stars. As far as my overall thoughts on this SmackDown, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. Definitely much better than last week's SmackDown, and definitely even better than last night's Monday Night Raw. Yeah. So as far as the first 2 weeks of this new era, it's pretty much even. So there's really nothing more to say except let's move on.
And just see from you, Bullock, it's just your overall review now.
You already did that.
Yeah, I already did.
Then I guess we're just gonna move on, guys. I'm sorry for what just happened. Apparently my my internet just froze, but we're still working. I'm actually on my Samsung Galaxy phone, so I hope you guys can hear me. Derek, front and center, it's time for your independent scene. So Derek, what you got?
All right, quick on the NXT because I got a lot on what happened this past week in Providence at the Fed. So we had Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Wesley Blake, your first match on NXT. Then you had Billy Kay defeating Santana Garrett. In tag team matching, you had TM61 defeating a local team from Florida, Rob Rison and Adrian Nails. And then you had No Way Jose defeating Steve Cutler, Kota Ibushi defeating Buddy Murphy, and then I believe you had a segment which really made that match official for NXT back in Brooklyn between Nakamura and Samoa Joe. So let's see. Damn, I thought I had the NXT for tomorrow. All right, let me just pull that up quickly. So actually, tonight's edition of NXT, I'll just give you the matches on that. Hideo Itami, he returns after being out with that rotator cuff surgery. Then you have Oscar going up against another local wrestler. Bobby Roode, yes, Bobby Roode makes his NXT debut tomorrow. I know Anthony Florio's excited about that. And then you have Dash and Dawson going up against TM61. And then in your main event, you have Chris Aikens going up against Mojo Rawley. We'll talk about that next week. So let's get into what happened at the Fed. There were 2 shows. We had the Women's Wrestling Revolution show, and then you had the big Beyond Wrestling show at after that. So we'll start it off with the matches that happened. Of course, the first match on the card, you had Karen Q defeating Daviente in this match, and this was a match that was kind of made the day of the show. I'll explain what happened with the next match. So this was basically like an old school wrestling match. It had your baby face going up against your heel. Karen Q actually won the match, and she was actually the baby face. And the other wrestler over here was just really a heel. And I gotta say this. Karen Q, watching her wrestle, she reminded me of John Cronus. The late, great John Cronus, we all know, lived in Boston, Massachusetts. One of my favorite wrestlers from the ECW days as well. Part of the Eliminators with Perry Saturn. And then we had our second match over here. And originally what happened was it was Veda Scott going up against Santana Garrett. Veda Scott, of course, she likes to say she's from anywhere but Providence, Rhode Island, which gets a lot of heat if you're from these parts. She was supposed to go up against Jessica Havoc, but due to reasons beyond her control, Havoc did not show up. So there was an opponent. Santana Garrett, meanwhile, was supposed to go up against Bobby Hayden. She missed out due to airplane issues as well. So that kind of set it up, both of these wrestlers. And Veda Scott basically did some trash talking. And she comes out and she's basically saying, you know what, I saw you on NXT this past week. You lost to Billy Kay. That really pissed off Santana Garrett, and this actually started a brawl even before the match actually started. And this was actually a fun match. I could say this was kind of like a 2.5 stars. Veda Scott wins the match. And then we go into the next match over here. We had Solo Darling and Candice LeRae going up against Mistress Belmont and Miranda Viente. And, of course, you know, Solo Darling and Candice